To all my Larry Sharpe Libertarians, this is Alex Merced, and I just wanted to kind of give you some reflections, some perspective after what was an emotional night. Emotional on many levels, because last night was a moment I was waiting for 2 years, to cast the vote for Larry Sharpe. And no moment was I prouder to call Larry Sharpe a friend and family. So congrats, Larry Sharpe, on everything you've accomplished this year, and I hope you get to enjoy some well-earned rest these next few moments, I guess, whatever time span it is. But I want to make sure that people don't lose sight of how much we gained, of how much we earned in this race. So to put it into perspective, so last I checked, Larry was at about over 90,000 votes. Okay, this is a high watermark, the highest vote total for a Libertarian Party gubernatorial candidate in New York history. Okay, if you go back in time and you take a look at the last gubernatorial race, we got around, I think it was 14 or 17,000 votes. Okay, so this is exponential growth from the last gubernatorial race. Now, even if you take a look at sort of what would have been sort of just the pure Libertarian vote, basically, the Libertarian vote without any kind of campaigning, just take a look at sort of what the Comptroller and Attorney General lines, which were around 20,000 votes. So that means 70,000 of those votes were really purely because Larry spoke to people's hearts, to their minds, and changed their thoughts. But the thing is that those aren't the only people he touched. He touched people all across the state. There are many people who love what Larry had to say, who are thinking about the things that Larry has put in their minds, the ideas, etc. They just were so scared of Republicans or so scared of the Democrats that they just didn't end up voting our way. But it doesn't mean their hearts weren't changed. It doesn't mean their minds weren't changed. Larry touched far more people than that 90,000 number represents, even though that 90,000 number crosses that $50,000 threshold and gives us ballot access, which is exactly what we need in order to win statewide races. Because a candidate can't be everywhere all the time. Okay, the way you build sort of that statewide vote in order to win statewide elections is you need to have a constant presence all the time. That's achieved by having your local county party there, running local events, being part of the local community, by having local candidates who are campaigning and organizing the vote in that area to turn out for that party. This is the reason kind of why parties do matter, because they help create that organization, that network effect that allows more people with similar ideas to win. So Larry Sharpe broke down that barrier, which is a barrier that New York has been working to break down for a very, very long time, which matters in a big way. Words can't express, because if you're not familiar with how New York works, it costs a lot of money. We spend sometimes $70,000. In 2016, $70,000 it cost to put me and Gary Johnson on the ballot. Okay, that's a lot of money. And then because of that, and that only counts for when you do a ballot for a federal race, you can only do it for federal races. When you do it for statewide races, you only can do it for statewide races. And in New York City, if it's a New York City office, it has to be filed in New York City, which means there's separate costs for each one. So oftentimes we've had to choose, are we going to run statewide candidates this year? Are we going to run federal candidates this year? That's why we didn't have Aaron Comey on the ballot for U.S. Senate this year, because we couldn't afford 2 ballots. With ballot access, we no longer have to make that choice. We can run people in all races all the time, and that creates the inertia, the network effect that's going to get us to the next level. So now we have to start thinking about who are going to be those Larry Sharpe Libertarians running for assembly, or running for state senate, running for city councils, running for all these offices that we're going to have much more access to. And just a little bit more perspective, because a lot of people are going to be comparing 2016. 2016, Gary Johnson got like 170,000 votes in New York, but keep in mind, only about 60,000 of those votes were Libertarian Party votes. 100,000 of those votes were Independence Party votes. Okay, so basically they weren't voting for Gary Johnson, they were voting for the Independence Party, because they just didn't want to, because remember, that year no one wanted to vote for Trump or Hillary. They were just upset with both parties, so people were just voting none of the above. They weren't really thinking about which particular candidate they were voting for, because if you vote in that line, you would also vote for Chuck Schumer for Senate. And if you take a look at how the vote totals, it all made that kind of clear. So really, the Libertarian Party vote in New York in 2016 was 60,000. And that was a year where basically people were much more open to voting third party, because that year was a year where people were like, you know what, I don't want to vote for either of the major parties. This year was a year where basically everyone's back to their sort of tribal, I need to beat the other party mode. So the fact that Larry Sharpe was able to beat that 60,000 and hit 90,000 shows that tremendous growth. So no matter which way you look at it, Larry Sharpe has made tremendous growth. Okay, he's touched, and again, he didn't just touch people in New York. He reached people all across the country, all across the world, and changed their minds, changed their hearts, got them excited about the liberty message. So the impact is there. The impact is huge. But what is clear is we still have, all of us have a lot of work to do here in New York in building up those local party chapters and now getting those local candidates out there now that we have ballot access. So, you know, Larry gave us ballot access if we can keep it. So let's keep it. Thank you guys very much. Larry Sharpe, thank you for everything you've done these last couple years. Relax, rest. Love you, dude. And thank you, everybody else, for everything you've done.